Welcome to Intentionality with Dominique, the show that helps business owners become valued and in-demand suppliers in the marketplace to scale their businesses. Let's start today's show with host and intentional connector, Dominique Simpson-Milton.
Welcome to another episode of Intentionality, the show dedicated to increasing the success rate of entrepreneurs and their businesses by sharing the strategies and tactics of successful suppliers. I'm your host, Dominique Simpson-Milton, and today's show is being brought to you by CVMSDC, also known as the Council. Longevity, reach, and specialization. Our next guest has mastered them all with 37 years of success. Dan Anderson exemplifies what it takes to build and sustain a thriving business in a competitive industry. Staying in the game requires solving a specific problem, maintaining cost effectiveness, and adapting to evolving customer needs. And Dan has done just that. As president of Diversified Supply Incorporated, Dan leads an electrical supply company that specializes in low voltage products and supports customers across Alabama, Ohio, South Carolina, Tennessee, and North Carolina. From wire and cable to switchgear and lighting, his company keeps electricity and progress moving forward. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Dominique. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's always good to be in the room with you, Dan. Tell us, that's an impressive opening there, but tell us your story. How did you get started?
Well, out of college, I was a basketball coach for University of Mississippi for about 8 months. And that was the time when they could recruit 365 days a year. And I didn't like that very much because I was on the road every day of the week. And I called one of my friends and he got me a job at Tennessee Valley Authority as a electrical buyer for their nuclear sites. But I discovered that I wasn't the kind of guy to sit behind a desk. So I stayed there for 2.5 years. And then I left there and I went to Merrill Lynch. I was a stockbroker for Merrill Lynch for 8 years. But while I was a stockbroker, one of my former vendors from TVA came in one day and said, "Hey, I'm really struggling. I need some marketing." He said, "Can you help me out?" And I was doing really well at Merrill Lynch, but it was the hardest thing I ever did in life. It's a hard business being a stockbroker back in the 80s. So I took the job and bought 51% of the business. It was doing like $800,000 in revenue. Mm-hmm. But I bought my talent to the business. And I agreed to pay the gentleman who was selling $100 for 51% of the business. So from there, that was in 1989, May of 1989. And then unfortunately, my partner passed away in 2004. And from that point forward, I've been 100% owner of Diversified Supply.
Okay. So you launched out, you bought the business. And so that's what some people need to understand. You don't have to grow it from the ground up. You bought the business.
That's correct.
And so when you say you took your expertise in, what do you think differentiated you from other owners of the business? How did you change it with your leadership skills moving in?
So I trained on Wall Street for 3 months with Merrill Lynch. They taught me marketing, basically. And then when I came back, it was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I came back, they gave me a desk and a telephone book. And every single day for about 5 years, I had to make 100 cold calls.
100 calls a day.
Every day.
I hate cold calls.
Oh, man.
Oh, I hate cold calls, right?
Man.
But that's critical when you're starting out.
Yeah, but there was a formula to it, though. Okay. Like you make 100 calls, you get 10 suspects, 3 prospects, and 1 client out of 100 calls.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was the hardest thing I ever did in my whole life. So I had the marketing skills because I'd call people and, I used different techniques in terms of calling and asking them how they invest their money and how I could help them. And, my guys saw that. And actually, I was the first African-American stockbroker in Tennessee.
Wow.
And it was very difficult because not only being an African-American in that business, it was just very difficult because of what you had to do to get clients. And I was really fortunate. I succeeded in the business, but it was deregulated and it was the brokerage firms were doing crazy stuff to their clients. And I just couldn't do that to my customer base.
So I heard one thing, and that's work ethic.
Yeah.
Right. So you had a strong work ethic.
Yeah.
It did not overwhelm you, the fact that you had to sit there and make those cold calls, right? You knew you had to invest that time.
Yeah, I was there from 7 to 7 every day for 5 years.
And you brought that over to Diversified.
Yeah. I want to give some kudos to my father, though.
Okay.
Because that's where I get a work ethic from. My dad worked 4 jobs. And people say, you can't work 4 jobs. Well, my father worked at Oak Ridge National Laboratory where they built the atomic bomb.
Okay.
And then he'd come home about 4 o'clock and eat something. And then he'd go work in the steel mill from 6 to 10. And then on Saturdays, he cleaned up our church. And then he also cleaned up these people's houses up for about 70 years. He started when he was 13 years old. So I get my work ethic from my dad.
That is awesome. But 37 years in the business. Tell us about the ups and downs. Because I know it wasn't all roses.
So in order to be a distributor, it's important to be represent manufacturers, right? Mm-hmm. So when you said we sell switchgear, we sell Siemens switchgear, we sell Eaton switchgears. You said wire and cable. We work with a company in South Carolina called Prismium, a company in Georgia called Southwire. And we are direct distributors with those companies, right? So we're not buying material from another distributor and selling it to our customer because there's a double markup. Our goal is always to be competitive. So the hard barriers to our business was convincing manufacturers to allow a minority distributor to be a real distributor and be in the marketplace. So you announced that we had 5 locations: Ohio, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama. Well, it's always difficult to go in those markets and get a distributorship because there's already distribution there. And as a result, the manufacturers, they have to go and check with their distributors, and they may say, no, we don't need another distributor in the market. And if you put another distributor in, we'll throw all our products in the street, which is really crazy. So we've had a lot of help, and, we're standing on a lot of people's shoulders because people would vouch for us and say, hey, if Diversified can't be a distributor, then we're going to use your competitor. And all of a sudden that manufacturer would get his house in order and say, hey, Dan, how about being the distributor for Thomas & Betts or Kraus Heinz? So we're standing on a lot of people's shoulders.
So that's the second point, right? It's not, you didn't do this alone. You're standing on the shoulders of others. And you had people who supported you. Right. How do you keep your prices competitive?
Well, cost, right? So our industry is an interesting industry. Over the last 15, 20 years, our middle market's gone. So what I mean by that is, used to be anywhere from 1 million to 100 million small companies in revenue, and then 100 million up to 1 billion middle market. Well, the $1 billion companies have bought out the entire middle market.
I've seen that.
Of our industry.
Right.
And as a result, they have those big companies. They have they have a branch manager, they have a district manager, they have a regional manager, they have a national manager, then they have a whole C-suite of executives. So guess what? They got to feed those people, right? So when they go to market, they have to have a higher markup on product. Well, our organization is fairly flat, meaning I'm the president, then we have a chief financial officer, then we have 4 divisions. We have an MRO division, we have a construction division, we have an integrated supply division, and then we have just our IT department. So we can make decisions quick, and we don't need the kind of markup that some of the bigger players need in the marketplace.
So I'm hearing that you're more nimble because you're flat, right? And so that controls your pricing. Right?
I would say nimble and flexible because sometimes when a customer needs to ask you to make a decision, we can make it in 30 minutes as opposed to somebody having to check through a chain of C-suite executives.
Excellent. So that's a competitive advantage.
Absolutely.
So tell me about your materials management program. How did you build it, and how does that work to make you competitive?
Interesting. I got to give some kudos to Fluor.
Okay.
One of your members. Back in 1993, Procter & Gamble was building 2 plants, one in Jackson, Tennessee, another one in Albany, Georgia. And Procter & Gamble's always had an excellent supplier diversity program. So they were pushing Fluor to basically find some MBEs to work with. Well, Fluor did. They found a concrete finisher to buy electrical products. So what they did was, at the time, they asked a cement finisher to go buy a product from an electrical distributor.
That's interesting.
And it was wrong material. And they wanted to return it, and the manufacturer wouldn't take it. So Fluor found us, and they said, hey, we'd like to work with you. So we sent 2 people down to Jackson, Tennessee, And basically, we worked their trailers for them where people would come and get material and we'll issue it out to them because they didn't have the budget to put people there. So we did that for 3 years, and then we moved on to Albany, Georgia, and we did that for a couple of years. And then we got a project in Charleston. Actually, when the DuPont plant was there, it was a high trail project, and we did that project by ourselves. And from that point forward, that was probably 1996, 97. We probably have done $8 billion worth of large projects as a material manager.
For Fluor or overall?
Overall for other customers. So what that involves is we're able to take a couple of our people, our technology and inventory and put it on a site and issue material to the electrical craft people.
Okay.
And they have a tremendous amount of savings because we consign that material to the site. So when the project's over, we take the material and to another project, or we ask the manufacturer to restock it for us without a fee. So the companies actually save on surplus material, which is, according to E&R, is about 14% of any kind of project.
Okay. So you're tier 1 to Fluor.
Yes.
Okay. So some people don't understand what that means. So when you started out, were you tier 1 to Fluor?
No.
Okay. So you started out working under someone else. Okay. And now tier 1 means you directly support Fluor.
Yes.
And you've been doing that for how many years?
Well, probably since 1993.
Okay. So tell us, you took the company from what in terms of dollars to where it is now?
So we were, I don't normally publish this, but I say it.
Okay. You can give me a roundabout.
So last year our revenues were 170 million. 170
million, right?
Yes.
But where did you take it from? That's what I want people to understand.
So when I first purchased it, it was $800,000.
$800,000 to 170 million.
Yes.
If I could give you a high five right now, I would. That's just major kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you.
Again, because sometimes you have to break things down on an elementary level, right?
Sure.
So you built this company. Explain from an elementary level what you do and how you do it for a company. So when a company calls you because they're building, let's say they're building a data center, right? And so they're going to build this data center. Are they calling you to do the design of the electrical system, or they already have done it and you have to get the electrical products that they're asking for? Take me through that.
We typically are a supplier unless they want on-site material management. We're typically a supplier, and we probably provide them, cables or conduit or tranche or cable tray or lighting. We do a lot of lighting projects around the country. Conduit fitting. So we'll just supply that material to them. We very rarely have people who call us and say, hey, we want to give you some business. So we're really aggressive from a marketing standpoint. We have people in the field who are actually targeting contractors and large
sales team that goes
absolutely,
out.
Absolutely. I never believed being an MBE, the business would come to me. I believe we have to pursue the opportunities for our customers and also explain our value proposition in a very clear way to our customers.
Okay, so that's the fifth point. Okay, that's critical for our viewers. If you don't have a value proposition, there's no reason for people to call you.
That's correct.
Right? So the value proposition is how you're going to help that company save money.
Absolutely.
How you're going to help them save time, how you can be more nimble in response. If they have something that's not right, how quickly you can get the correct product to them. If they have to return stuff, you allow that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So back to the original question. Do you set up a trailer in each one of the, if you're building a huge data center, how are you supplying them? Is it just in time?
So today we have not had any data center on-site material management projects.
Okay.
What we've been doing in Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa is basically just supplying material. And what we have been doing for some customers is setting up, and this is kind of novel, and I want to thank my team for it because it's not my idea, is where we're not located physically, we get a 3PL. And 3PL is like a big warehouse, and we stock material in that warehouse, and 3PL pays warehouse people to receive it, to ship it out to our customer. So we don't have to be in that location because we only have 5 locations. We don't have to be in Kansas. So
there's a logistics arm in that new location.
Absolutely. Okay. So that's been a real, one of my guys in Cincinnati come up with that concept. So we're doing it in Columbus, Ohio, and we're also doing it in Iowa.
Excellent.
And also Kansas.
So you can supply anywhere in the U.S. You have those locations we mentioned, but you can cover anywhere in the U.S. because of that system.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
But I'd like to say something too, since you're talking about value proposition. One of the things I believe that has helped our longevity over the last 37 years is trust, right? So, one of the things that we always talk to our customers about is not everything goes right in a business transaction, particularly on construction projects. The design may be wrong. They may change the design, and, our customers have to really trust that we're going to look out for them, and not always for us. And we try to look out for us too, don't get me wrong. But, we're looking out for our customers, and we try to build that trust over a period of time.
I call that client-centric.
Well, we call it customer-centric.
Customer-centric,
That's what we call it. And the customer-centric means a lot of other things too. It means that you're really proactive instead of reactive. Used to be a time back in the day, and I really rejoiced in those days, where it was really transactional, where customer sends you a requisition by fax or call it in and give you a week to return it. Now with all the technology, I mean, we must be operating probably in 30 different customer portals, right?
Okay.
The technology has just made everything faster, quicker. The demand is much, much greater than it used to be for customer service.
Excellent.
And that's why I say customer-centric is really important, because you have to be proactive. Like we have a project in Columbus that hasn't really gone particularly well, not to our fault, just because the client keeps changing the design, right? So our guys, they call the buyer for the electrical contractor every single morning, say, what's up? What's new today? What can we do to help? And then at the end of the day, they call them for a 5-minute conversation and say, did I miss anything? Can I help you do anything?
Okay.
What are your needs are for tomorrow? So it's being really customer focused.
Excellent. So you got in the customer. We had a situation in our church where they installed lights, but they didn't install the most efficient lights. And the electrical person could have guided us differently to put better lighting fixtures in. So you get involved in that to say, this is better for you than that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
One last question. What's the difference between working in your business versus working on your business?
Well, I would say for probably 25 to 30 years, I worked in the business.
Okay.
Right? Because we're growing. We're 70 people, 70 associates. Excuse me. So I'm salesman. I'm chief administrative officer and overlooking the financials every day and doing some quoting, for our customers and, just the whole bottle of wax. But, probably the last 10 to 12 years, I've been more visionary about where we should be, where I'd like to be. I've been looking for acquisitions, for example, of all places, Mississippi and Louisiana. And then also in the Texas market. But it's very hard to find acquisitions today because of what I explained earlier relative to, no middle market. And for some reason during COVID, people just felt like their business was worth more than it really was. So things of that nature I try to go after. And also try to make sure that our associates, we don't call our employees, we call them associates because we all work together.
I love that.
Try to make sure that they have good benefits and try to make sure that they're comfortable in the buildings that we provide them.
Okay. All right. So strategic thinking, a long-range strategic thinking is the working on the business.
Trying to.
Yeah,
yes.
Trying to. So thank you so much. Any last parting words that you would give, advice that you would give to a business owner starting out?
So it's funny. I sometimes when I'm out restaurants or maybe a bar or something, I hear these young guys talking about, hey, I'm going to start my business and it's going to be this and it's going to be that and I'm going to do this. And I think about the days that I may work in Birmingham from I get to work around 7:30 or so and I get off at 5:30, 6 o'clock. I always try to be the last person to lock the door.
Excellent.
Right. But I'll hop in the car and drive to Aiken, South Carolina, which is 5 hours from our Birmingham location. And I have a 8:30 or 9 o'clock meeting in the morning. So I think when I hear these guys talking, there's a commitment involved in owning your own business. It's a commitment and it has to be a passion because if it's not the passion, it can get very, very difficult really soon.
Well, we're going to leave it there because it's that commitment and it goes back to the work ethic that we talked about that your father instilled in you. So congratulations on 37 years.
Thank you.
For really building that company. It's like 100-fold, right? What you've done for that company. So congratulations and being customer-centric
Thank you.
And having a strong work ethic. Thank you for being here.
We've been extraordinarily blessed. So thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. So if you'd like to learn more about how Diversified Supply Incorporated can support your next project, visit diversifiedsupply.com or reach out to Dan directly at dkanderson@diversifiedsupply.com. Well, that concludes today's episode of Intentionality. Be sure to join me for our next episode. And remember that we must always remain intentional to gain knowledge, skills, and connections so we can grow and thrive in business together. I'm Dominique Simpson-Milton, and we will see you next time.
This has been another episode of Intentionality with Dominique, brought to you by the CVMSDC. For more information, please visit cvmsdc.org.